Hey everybody, welcome. Today we're going to discuss the motorcycle gear you'll need to get started. Let's begin. First, we're going to discuss the motorcycle helmets. First thing being the safety rating on the helmet. They will be found usually on the back of the helmet. There'll be some stickers on there. The lowest level of standard would be the DOT. The next standard was going to be the ECE, similar to DOT. You're not going to see much of that in the US. It'll just have the DOT. So the next one on the list is going to be Snell. And they're going to have similar testing to the actual DOT and ECE. However, they have higher standards of what actually qualifies to pass. They are a third-party program, and then what happens is companies will pay them to test their product, give them the Snell rating in an effort to provide their product and market it as a safer option as opposed to just a strictly DOT or ECE rating. The next one on the list is going to be MIPS. That's going to stand for the Multi-Directional Impact Protection System. And what this is almost like a separation of where your head goes into the helmet and the helmet itself. And what this benefits is when you're actually sliding, it'll allow the helmet to move around your head without actually contouring your neck, which is a relatively new concept. However, when it comes to street riding, I personally believe this is probably a really solid option, considering all of the drag you're going to do on different objects and things like that could be laying in the street, or if you've maybe gone flying off of the street. Now being integrated into regular street riding helmets, and I personally think it's a solid system to look out for. The last and final one is going to be Sharp. Sharp's going to be the highest standard for actual impact and crash testing. Sharp is usually what's recommended if you're going to be, doing some crazy stuff on the track. These are just the stickers to keep an eye out for. As far as the features of the helmet themselves, some of them are going to come with Bluetooth actually inside of the helmet already. I'm a big fan of Bluetooth intercoms. Even starting out early on, I enjoyed having that there for a couple different reasons. Listening to music was nice once I kind of got past the initial part of learning, but also the ability to have my directions come through via my intercom system, so I didn't have to actually look at my phone or pull off and stop. I could just set the GPS and go. That also allowed me to plan some rides separately as well, which was cool, where I could string together different streets, and I already had it pre-planned in an app that would then play through my helmet, and I never had to look at my phone. Another feature you want to keep an eye out for is going to be the airflow system. So a lot of different helmets have a different amount of airflow. They have different venting, where the vents are, how effective they are, how much you can close them off. That is all imperative. As far as you personally go, if you're going to be riding all seasons, you want to make sure that you have a helmet that's going to have the ability to open and close all those vents. But in order to close all those vents, you're also going to want to have a pin lock visor, which is basically a separate layer of plastic that goes inside of your visor and creates like a two-pane glass so you don't get fogging. In the cold, it can't see out of the mask. You end up having to lift it up. Then you have cold air blowing in your face. Your eyes start to water. Take it from me. Find a helmet that has the pin lock visor. Find a helmet that has a solid amount of ventilation, because in the middle of the summer, you're going to need it. So another key feature of certain high-end helmets is going to be the weight of the helmet themselves. Now, I will say that there are positives and negatives to heavier helmets, at least in my experience. Some of the heavier helmets have actually had a little bit less wind noise. Some of the more race-oriented helmets that I've used have had a ton of wind noise, and that's not necessarily beneficial in the street. Sometimes you'd prefer it to be a little bit quieter, especially going back to the Bluetooth, being able to listen to some music while you're riding around. As far as the style of helmets go, there's a few different options. You have the full face, you have the bucket lid, with not a great option for you. If that's really the way you want to go, that's fine, but not me personally. I don't think it's a great choice. You have the Supermoto guys that have like the open visor helmet with the goggle. I'm sure that it's probably fine for that type of riding. I've never actually ridden in one, but I'd imagine in the summertime they're very nice. And I have looked at them at, when it's 90 and 100 degrees here. So if you want to check out modular helmets, that's another option as well. And as far as cruising goes, I personally think that it's a pretty solid option. Being able to lift up the front and kind of get that open face when you're kind of out away from other cars and don't have to worry about rocks and stuff like that, but also having the protection for being able to pull it down could 100% be beneficial. It's just, from what I've heard, that point of pivot is also a point of weakness, and personally that's just not an aspect I'm willing to sacrifice to be able to lift it up from time to time. I'd rather just lift up the visor. Wrapping up helmets, key features to look for: you want to look for the rating on the back, airflow, the weight of the helmet, how it fits. And due to all of these features, I would highly recommend that you go into a shop and see which helmet actually fits your head appropriately, You won't really know until you actually put one on. When you do, it's going to be a little bit tight. It's going to feel a little bit restrictive, but I promise that when you're actually on the bike, you're not going to notice certain aspects of your field of view not being there because it's an irrelevant part of your field of view. Where you're looking is where you're going, and past that, your head's going to remain moving the entire time. And past helmets, we have jackets. So jackets, whether you want to look for a 4-season jacket or not, that's totally fine. Ones I find are decent for 2-3 seasons. My recommendation is to find a jacket that is in the season that you're currently purchasing your first bike in, and that way it's good for at least a couple of months. I will say that during the summertime, it's been really hot. Now, if you're early in the riding and you feel like you need all the protection, and that's fine, go for it. If you're someone that doesn't feel like you need it, I'm not here to judge you on that either. I just would always say to ride appropriately based on the gear that you're currently wearing. Don't go out there in some shorts and a t-shirt because it's hot out, but go 180 miles an hour. But if you're in proper gear and you can get through it, cool. A lot of those summer jackets are awesome at nighttime if you're going out at night rides. I just find that personally where I live, it's just so hot, it's just not practical with the humidity levels as well. The other options for jackets to keep an eye out for are the different materials. You'll have textile, you have mesh, you have leather. There's a couple different options. Mesh is going to be by far the best for the summertime, so it's by far the least protective. Next one from there, looking at textile. Textile is going to be a combination of different materials. The best of those materials is going to be Kevlar, which you're probably familiar with from bulletproof vests. It's not only abrasion resistant, it's heat resistant, so when you're sliding down the street, it won't burn. And in some cases, Kevlar can actually be more protective than leather, depending on the quality of the leather. Getting into the leather, you have a couple different options. You have cowhide, you also have kangaroo. Kangaroo is going to be a little bit of a thinner material because it's a more durable skin. You get a lighter suit as far as your ability to then wear it in more warm temperatures, but also the ability to move on the bike while you're riding. Cowhide's great. It takes color very well. It takes abrasion, very well. The kangaroo just is a little bit higher quality as far as crashing goes. It just doesn't tend to hold those designs well. The other aspects of your jacket that you want to take a look at are where it has the armor and what level of armor that is. Personally, I recommend CE level 2, CE level 1 being decent for average street riding. If you really want the maneuverability and things like that, you'll get a little bit more motion on items that have CE level 1, but CE level 2 is realistically what you want to look for, especially if you're a new rider and you're looking for that extra level of protection to make sure that you're safe as far as impact goes. The only difference between CE level 1 and CE level 2 is going to be their ability for that impact resistance. That initial impact is where that level armor will actually benefit you. Other than the armor as well, you want to take a look at, a lot of the jackets don't have back braces. If it doesn't have a back brace, you want to see if it has the ability to insert a back brace, and if it does, highly recommend you put the back brace in it. Another thing to be mindful of when purchasing a jacket is if you buy a 2-piece suit jacket, it's not necessarily meant to be worn without the pants. It's not going to be as long and it's not going to protect you in the back as much. It's usually about 4 or 5 inches shorter. Realistically, they're not recommended to be worn solo. They should be worn as a pair because they're then pulled together through a looping system underneath of it all to make sure that they don't slide up when you're going down the street. The streetwear jackets that are designed to be worn in the street tend to hang a few inches lower to keep you safer in the back. When it comes to pants, if you're looking to purchase those separately and not a whole suit itself, pants have a few different options. You can look for the touring style pants, you can look for winter style pants. There's also more summer oriented with mesh material in certain areas to ensure that you have proper ventilation. Knee sliders, if you're looking for those, are definitely beneficial if you're hitting track days. Usually those are pretty much reserved for just the leather style pants. Most guys that I see on the streets are wearing either textile pants or they're wearing jeans. Occasionally you see the guy in the suit wearing leather. With the sliders. I would say the most overlooked item to definitely purchase when you're buying a motorcycle is your shoes or boots. You want to buy a pair of shoes that's going to at least cover above the ankle. A lot of riders that are just learning how to ride end up tipping over their bike, and when they do, their boot doesn't protect their ankle and they end up breaking it when the bike falls on top of their leg. If you're not going to go with the full boot that kind of covers all the way up over the ankle, I highly recommend you at least look at the ones that come with the protective sliders that are on the side. They also have certain ones that have titanium over the toes. When it comes to Bluetooth, you're going to have 3 options. It's going to be Cardo, one of them is going to be HJC, and one of them is going to be Sena. Now HJC is pretty much just a Cardo. but they have them integrated specifically for their helmets, which is what I went with when I was new. There's literally slots for all the wiring. The install is super simple. The battery pack fits right inside of it. Highly recommend it. As far as the intercom system goes, it's been great. We're able to talk to each other. I'm able to take calls, get my directions, listen to music. I don't have any personal experience with the other two products. However, those are the two, Cardo and Cena, that are the most popular across the community, it seems. Gloves are another thing you need to take a look at when you're getting into riding. The very first thing you're going to put out is going to be your hands. I recommend getting a pair of gloves when you first get started. I personally prefer to ride in gloves. I don't like riding barehanded. It just seems weird to me and a little bit foreign. Different gloves definitely will work for different seasons. You want to keep an eye out for ones that have good ventilation if it's summertime, and the ones that don't have a lot of that ventilation for the winter time. They will have protective covering that will cover over the top 4 knuckles here. The other thing to keep an eye out for are the pinky and the ring finger. They should have a connector piece between the two if you're looking for that extra layer to make sure that they don't break in the event of a fall. The next one's going to be gauntlet style, which will come past the wrist and actually go over top of whatever long sleeve shirt you're wearing. And that's going to be what you wear if you're going for track day or, again, looking for that extra layer of support. Gloves will run you anywhere from like $20 to like $150. During the dead summertime, I wear mesh gloves. During the spring and fall, I also have a pair that's a little bit more protective by alpinestars that I wear as well. Moving into maintenance gear, I created a list just because it's actually a pretty solid amount of stuff that you need to purchase, as far as within the first few months needing to do an oil change and a chain lube, and most likely need to wash and clean the bike. These are the items that I personally use. Chain lube, chain cleaner, chain brush, rear wheel lift, pink wash, waterless wash, and then I use the Meguiar's wet polish, as well as the leather polish and metal polish, oil, an oil drain container, something to put underneath to catch the old oil filter, drain plug, washer, do not forget to replace the washer, and a funnel. Along with those, highly recommend socket set and an Allen key set, and a WD-40, and then a couple of those wire scrubbies, and you'll be pretty set for a while. Microfiber cloths to wipe it all down. One that I skipped on that I highly recommend you don't skip on is the rear wheel lift. So I didn't buy that at first, and I kid you not, I would clean the chain and have to push the bike like 6 inches at a time, and it would take me forever to get the chain cleaned, versus being able to just spin the wheel and keep one of those wire brushes on there and clean the chain in about 15 seconds. It's unbelievable, and I can't believe I waited to spend the money on that item. So let's get into the cost of the items. We have your helmet. Honestly, that could run you anywhere from about $89 to well over $2,000 depending on the helmet you select. Personally speaking, for starting out, a few of the really solid entry-level costs is anywhere between like $189 and about $300. You can get a very good helmet in that price range. As far as the cost of jackets go, usually speaking, if you're looking at like a textile or a mesh jacket, you're probably somewhere around the $250 to $350 range. If you're looking into leathers, it's going to end up running you a lot more. The cost of pants could be anywhere from like $150 to about $400. As far as the cost of shoes go, you're looking at somewhere between like $180 all the way up to $1,000. Depending on the quality and exactly what you're looking for. Beginners look somewhere in that $200 range. As far as Bluetooth goes, I highly recommend that you do get the Bluetooth system for your helmets. I personally really benefited from having that. They'll run you anywhere from like $150 to $350. As far as the cost of gloves goes, you're looking at anywhere from about $20 to about $300. As far as the cost of maintenance gear goes, roughly speaking, that cost would be about $400. I always say plan for roughly $800 to $1,200 in gear to get started with a motorcycle. Now, there are options to save, and there are options to spend way more than that, and that's kind of up to you to determine personally with what you believe you need for protection and to stay the most safe as possible, also staying within your personal budget as well. Personally speaking, when I got started, I did a pretty plain HJC helmet with the HJC Bluetooth system. I did a Joe Rocket 4-season jacket. The jacket had one of those internal liners in it that's waterproof, which was awesome. It also helped really block some of the wind in some of those colder temperatures. I did not personally purchase pants right away, and I did in fact purchase a pair of the street riding shoes that went just above the ankle. I did also purchase a pair of gloves that were very protective. However, later on I did end up switching them out for ones that were a little bit thinner material because it just felt a little bit better on my hands when I was gripping the clutch and the brake. Well, that wraps up the video for the motorcycle gear you'll need to get started. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button at the bottom. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.